Hi, I'm Shane Rhodes. I'm a 3D prop modeler here at Mighty Coconut for Walkabout Mini Golf, and we are now just outside of the Gloop Lair factory. And as you can see, we're kind of hanging out in the park right by the side of this crazy factory. We have a little skate park here, and this is kind of this whole idea kind of is very much inspired by early 90s to mid 90s, all throughout the 90s, early morning cartoons, specific television stations, music, and all that stuff, that kind of vibe. So with a lot of our villains layers, that's something that we tend to get decade by decade. And it was time for the like 4 or 5 on our team right now who grew up in the 90s to get our due. So this is us. You'll start to see a lot of really great nods to things like the Memphis Junior style out there. Our great ads here made by Zach Alexander, one of our artists. You might notice if you grew up in the 90s, all those great ads for little gummies or sodas and stuff like that. Keeps that kind of vibe. Now, the notion that we're these kids starting off here in the skate park, kind of breaking into this factory area, we're seeing things are a little bit off kilter, if you will. We've got obviously the factory's pumping away, but out front, we're gonna come on over here and we'll see some radioactive goo or gloop in this case. And I think, as you know, especially growing up in the 90s, radioactivity means one of two things: either something bad, or maybe a superhero, or a mutated dwelling animal. Who knows? So kind of draws you in to see where we're going to go. A lot of Laura Krause was the kind of main level champion for this one. In fact, she had to almost convince Lucas a little bit about getting this one off and going, because we're kind of representing an area that he was just out of. So at first he wasn't sure he wanted to do it. Then Laura was able to kind of create this little kind of prototype of what she envisioned, and he's like, "Ah, yes, I see it," and now we were able to do it. So we'll go ahead and move on in here to the factory. For me and Laura and Emma and Zach, we're probably, I would say, maybe on the younger side of the team, the ones that would relish in this land. So we definitely got to lean in a lot of our inspirations growing up. I know Hey Arnold was a big one for Emma and Laura. I was a big Nickelodeon watcher. In fact, growing up in Orlando, I went to Universal Studios a lot, and they had a big Nickelodeon tour there. So a lot of stuff like this is kind of fresh in my mind growing up, where you have these kind of all these little factory bits and pieces that seem like nonsense. They do connect, though. You'll notice everything's kind of coming in from the sewer and kind of going into this insane machine here, and it seems all like crazy nonsense. And for some aspects of it, it is, but it all connects together to create what in this case is our villain's gloop. Yeah, for me, oh man, I don't even know where to start. There was a lot of the live action stuff too on Nickelodeon was a big thing that I was into, and even just things like laser tag and all those kind of early '90s get together, ice skating rinks, all that stuff. Like, yeah, it's just like an amalgamation of a '90s child's like dreamscape. Essentially, is where we wanted to go with this. So as we move through the factory here, you'll see our villain is creating their gloop, which is their big evil plan. We're not sure exactly what she's doing with it yet, but we can see it's being manufactured. So the water essentially comes in from the sewer, goes through the system, gets mixed in with our starch over here, and then as we get down here, we'll start to see a little bit further of the process of the gloop. Now, I love this space too. This is the factory control room, and kind of similar to the overall level. Laura kind of mapped out the machine and what goes where and what does what, and then there was a lot of interpretation in between. So that was one of the things I was fortunate to do, was kind of piece it all together, and like some of my theme park background helped with that, because As you could see here, you actually get a little bit of everything from the process of the gloop making, from the entrance in the very back all the way up to the conveyor belt here, and eventually our monster processor. All right, we'll start to move into the factory floor, and up above, this is going to be a fun story. So we're going to see these balls kind of flowing through here, and some people might notice what that is growing up at a certain time. I'm not going to say it yet because it'll pay off a little bit later, but this will be a fun story because something Laura, Emma, and I had to fight for a little bit. So keep that in mind. All right, we're moving on down. I believe we're around hole 6 now. And we're seeing kind of now the bottom part. So where we had up here the stirring of the cornstarch is now coming down into little balls, and this is kind of inspired from, again, when we were younger, and I think they still, in fact, I know they still do it. The kids these days, you can make your own little like gloop ball things. There's the recipe on the internet, and it's always starts from starch. So we're making these little starch balls that are going into our little machine here, and now going up into the gloop balls. Let's see, we'll roll down here. Now things start to get a little bit more potentially sinister, as it were. So everything seems pretty outside of the radioactive barrels, hasn't been too crazy, but now you can see that the end goal has been to liquefy some of this gloop, and appearing to be tapped into the city pipes. So we start to get our first hints of some villainous activity here. All right, we'll move kind of out of the factory, and we're going to be now inside one of the first sewer dwellings, as it were. Now, again, yes, as we get in here, this is going to be this is kind of more for the active play style nostalgia that we all went through, whether it was, going to these kids zone play places that had all these very, soft walls and padded poles to move around in. Got these little punching balls, or bags rather, in this case. And then, of course, one of my favorite, which is a staple of the play place, is your big plastic crawling tubes, which I know in my youth I would frequently jump up and get into, and then take advantage of the fact that my parents were unable to fit in it to say, no, we can't go home. I have to play more. So this kind of goes into this idea that our villain was a big 90s kid herself, and it's almost the dream of when you're a kid thinking like, man, if I had my own lair, if I had my own, place to build something, it's just everything you'd want in this grand version. So and we'll start to see, I won't call out everything because there's a lot to discover here, but we do have some kind of Easter eggs and call outs to a lot of different stuff that might remind you of some of your own memories from the 90s, if you are in that era, of course. And then we're going to kind of move our way down, and these are really fun too. So again, Emma and myself and Laura definitely had a time kind of trading back and forth of creating these props that are adjacent to things that we experienced in our youth. So now we're heading into hole 11 here, and we're exiting the play place, and we're going to kind of get a wider view of this section of the lair, as it were. So this is one of my favorite spots. We also dub it the laser tag zone, because as you'll see, not only is hole 11 itself a laser tag arena, but as you peer over the ledge here and look down, you can see there's actually a full laser tag space to play in. And this was super fun because I got to design this, and being somebody that played laser tag a lot growing up, finally got to, in a way, create my own. Also, as a side little tidbit, fun place to do hide and seek and as an alternative activity here. But much like the tubes, the laser tag arena and this whole area, they all connect. So you can go in and out of these tubes, and they'll all actually end up somewhere, and then eventually back into this main space of the sewer. Go ahead and roll down past hole, what is this, 12 here. All right, so earlier I was talking about those balls in the main factory that were kind of above our heads going over. And what I had mentioned was you may or may not notice that. What that was a ball washer for the infamous ball pit, the plastic ball pit. And this was one that for a while we fought with Lucas on. He's like, I just don't understand the ball pit thing. He's like, I don't get it. We're like, no, you don't understand. If you're going to have a play place area, you have to have a ball pit. So we finally had the last word on that. And this is where the end goal of those balls have ended up, in the ball pit. So anyone that enjoyed those ball pits, you're welcome. We fought for you. All right, so we're moving now kind of deeper into the sewer. If we look up here, yeah, you'll see the streams of liquid gloop from the previous factory area is now kind of filtering down and creating this almost neon soup throughout this little sewer environment. And we see that our villain has kind of burrowed into the sewer systems and jackhammered her way along the walls to fit all of her crazy pipes and machinery and all along the way. And of course, you'll notice as we've been going through on the course itself, there's been these little, what looks almost like mines. And she's had to, of course, protect her lair from intruders, such as the kids from outside. So these are doubling as our gameplay mechanic, where they will splurt out gloop that your ball can travel through. And for anyone that's a huge fan of any of the courses we've done where it goes through jam or anything like that, or paint like an Alice in Wonderland, you get that in spades here. No pun intended. So this was another fun area that was functional at first, and we had to find ways to really fill it out, and it was super fun to do. I think one was the pipes. We had this area for pipes, and I think when we first started designing it, they're kind of a little bit inside the walls and out, and I'm like, oh man, I didn't want to have to completely redo what was already built. So I was like, oh, wait a minute, if she's gonna be creating her lair from the sewer and working her way in, she would just kind of jack into the walls and put stuff where she sees fit. So that's what we did. And then we had this great wall off on the side here that was super empty. Like, we got to fill it with stuff. Oh, nothing. It all just seemed kind of cluttery. So Zach made this amazing graffiti wall that just really kind of brought that side of, again, that kind of 90s vibe, almost Nickelodeon feel into the graffiti of the sewers. For any fans of Upside Down, and I know there's at least dozens of us, you'll see the return of Pizza Rat. And one really great element of this course involves Pizza Rat, but you have to play all the way through the hard mode in order to see where that ends up. So I really encourage people to do it for this one. It's a lot of fun. We'll have to see exactly what the gloop does. Cool. All right, so we're kind of moving down through the sewer back into the main part of her lab, and this is her kind of, I'd say, hangout / research center is where we're approaching here. I like to think this is where she kind of hangs out in her free time, and on her desk does her personal experiments that may or may not have led directly to her plan here for the gloop. This is going to be rich with Easter eggs, for sure. We got our lava lamps in, a lot of call-outs, different things from our childhood. So kind of an example of one of the things that harken to the age. Yes. I'm glad you noticed those. Those were one of the ones that I was like, we have to have pogs. I'm 37. So I was right in this area. I remember getting my was exclusive X-Men pogs from Target back in the day. So that was my big memory here. But the other ones we love, like you'll see things like our version of the must-have toy which I've dubbed Kerbo. You might find some more of these babies around here, and perhaps an evil version itself too. So I say keep a lookout for that. I could literally probably spend another 20, 30 minutes just talking about this room alone. So I definitely encourage to go through it. Let's go ahead and jump up here. We can take this little ladder right up onto the ledge and get a little look up on the oh, what do we call this? Little nook, as it were. So this course definitely had a lot of graphics effects work from Zach. And again, I think it always helps. This is what it is. I think whatever course we have, whoever has like a feeling of that time, they just kind of go wild. So Zach had a lot to do, but I think a lot of this was like, oh yes, I want to do this to represent our eras, as it were. But yeah, you'll start to notice some fun stuff up here. So you got some nostalgic posters for things like movies, television, bands. In fact, for me, a personal story or experience rather is I grew up and our local mall was the Florida Mall. I grew up in Orlando. And I always, a big memory for whatever reason was the incense stall in the mall. And so I had to put my incense burner right up in here. Now, adjacent to that, one of the things that was fun is we noticed Rob Thomas of Matchbox 20 on a podcast talked about being a walkabout player. So we wanted to kind of do a little call out to him as well. So you might find things like, for example, on the next to the incense burner, a little matchbox, and there might be a certain direct number of matches in that matchbox. And then that spun off into a whole other thing. So you're going to find all kinds of references to bands and puns inside of these props and all that fun jazz. So it's important to remember the media of the time, I say. So not only are we representing the kind of media you'd go out and rent, where today we have streaming. Back in the day, we had things like rental video stores. So we have those. But on top of that, a big thing that we used to do is record shows or movies on TV when they came on. So have our kind of call out to our old VHS recorder tapes. And this is definitely a memory of our household. We had one VHS player to play to play one movie, one to record. Though that was just to duplicate our own, okay? We didn't do anything crazy with our rented movies. We were 100% legit on that, I promise. But yes, that is definitely a great kind of encapsulation of that time. But yeah, definitely take your time in that room. I'm going down the spiral staircase, which I believe was hole 16. I want to say we're about hole 16, and this will be fun. You have two ways to enter this main facility here, and that's one way is down the spiral slide. As you make your way down, we are entering the kind of main control station for our villain, and this will become a little more clear when you play the fox hunt. But her goals are perhaps a little less evil than some of our previous villains, as she is a child of the 90s and just kind of wants to bring back the fun of the 90s and the allure of that. So her idea is to create this gloop that will transform the city back into like a 90s aesthetic. Well, really almost like a time travel, like just make it all the 90s all the time everywhere. So this is her big gloop machine, which is where everything filters down and into. And every good villain has to have a pet, of course, to keep control over the control room. And our players will find if they mess with the cat, they might see some things bounce into action here. So that'll be a fun thing. Yeah. She gets nice and active. Our animator, Nate, did some painstaking animations on this for when you actually play this hole. So that'll be a real treat for people to watch. And as a owner of 7 cats, I can say he did a great job. It's too many cats. I have to say that, so it feels like it's a mandatory thing, but you're right, it's not. I could do more. We arrive here at hole 18, and with a big "do not push" red button. So I bet you can assume what you're going to want to do on this on this hole. And I say go for it. So that was the Gloop Lair. We hope you enjoy it. It was so much fun to make, and there are just keep looking at every nook and cranny. You'll find something really fun to find, and then you can go through it all again in hard mode. And there's going to be some surprises, some changes, some stuff might happen thanks to the effects of the Gloop, and we just really hope you enjoy it. Thank you so much.